Hi, good evening to everybody. Welcome to another session of Once Upon a Time with Rinpoche. Let me see if I'm online. All right. Let's see if I'm online. I don't see myself. Oh, I think I do see myself. So let's see if I'm online. Oops. Okay, I am online, but I don't see anybody right yet, as of yet. Anyway, today's session is going to be about behind the scenes of Rinpoche. So I think a lot of people are interested in what goes on behind the scenes, and sometimes they like to know what Rinpoche does and what Rinpoche does, when he's free, what he likes to do, what he, things like that. If you have any questions about behind the scenes with Rinpoche or anything about Rinpoche, you can ask me. And if it's appropriate, I'll answer. If it's not, then, I'll answer anyway. So anyway, this session today, we have two sponsors. Jacqueline and Andrew Tan. Jacqueline's dedications may all be well and happy, and Andrew Tan's dedication is may all sanctions be blessed by prayers conducted at Kechara. So what happens is if you would like to sponsor any of this program, Once Upon a Time with Rinpoche, it's twice a week, every fortnight. All right, so you can click on the link in the description. So this is just to buy some time and see if anybody comes on. Yeah. Okay, I see some people. Hold on. I don't see already. What happened? I thought I saw your comments. Okay, I see. Okay, there's only one view. I can see your comments. Okay, I'll see this. Joyce, you say, I feel like Rinpoche talks to me. Do you think it is my imagination? That's a very good question. It's very subjective. In what way does Rinpoche talk to you? But anyway, as of now, I have no comment in a sense that sometimes we do get messages when we do prayers from Rinpoche and from the divine. And I think a lot of people connect with Rinpoche spiritually. So we do get messages, and if it's wholesome messages, then it's wonderful. It will definitely be. I mean, if it's from Rimichie, definitely be wholesome. That's beyond doubt. But it's just that sometimes it may not be Rinpoche. But anyway, Anyway, good evening to the rest of you, Sharon, Andy, Lee Fong, and I think I saw someone else, Kamala. Yes, So what happens is. Behind the scenes with Rimichie. Okay, what would you like to know? Just let me know. Give me a buzz. And you said it's wholesome. Yeah. I mean, it's. I've heard a few people say that Rimichie speaks to them, or some people say they speak to Rimichie as if Rimichie is there, like to his picture. I personally don't do that, but why not? And if Rimichie gives us advice to do Dharma, to do retreats, to do practices, I mean, with your time with Rimichie, then wonderful. Please go by all means. It will only be benefit. All right. So okay, I think I can start more or less. Yeah. So behind the scenes with Rimichie. What does Rimichie like to do when he is free? Rinpoche is never free, to be honest, in a sense that Rinpoche is always doing something. But there are certain times of the day that because Rinpoche don't sleep very much, you see, Rinpoche sleeps at very odd hours, actually in the morning. Yeah, when people rise, he goes to bed, but for not very long, for a couple hours. 4 or 5 hours, 3-4 hours sometimes, depending, and then he wakes up, and even in between he wakes up to check his messages, to if there's something going on like a prayer or puja or a Dharma talk or whatever, or his students are traveling to do some work, he would be answering messages, checking messages, even when in between he doesn't sleep like, in one go like most of us. So just before sleeping, Rinpoche obviously does his sadhana, and just before doing his sadhana, Rinpoche likes to watch videos, YouTube, mainly YouTube, and also some movies, documentaries. The videos that Rinpoche likes to watch is documentaries, quite a broad range, really, really broad range. I mean, we're talking about paranormal. His favorite, of course, with regards to paranormal, his favorite is obviously two things. That always, when I'm with Rimichie, that's the things he always get me to watch with him, which is horror. If it's movies, it's horror movies. If it's sometimes if it's not documentaries lah, but what do you call those? Reality shows where reenactment, where a person tells there's a person who experienced some kind of paranormal activity, and this person will be describing it, and then there will be a reenactment by actors, and those type of videos Rinpoche like to watch. In behind the scenes, this is not behind the scenes. This is when Rimichie was trying to unwind for the day, just before his sadhana, and sometimes even during his sadhana, he will put on something. While he focused on his sadhana, he'll be watching. And I asked Rinpoche once, why do you do that? Because for Rinpoche, is that time is usually Rinpoche finds the noise, the movie, he doesn't really fully pay attention, but at the same time he does. Yeah. And if it's an interesting movie, it will be something that Rinpoche will rewatch another time. If it's not, then it was just forgotten. Because Rinpoche has watched many things. It's to keep Rinpoche awake sometimes when I'm not around, and also it's to there's some noise, something happening. Yeah, and then Rinpoche, when he does his sadhana, he will be on. But Rimichie does not recommend for us to do that. For our sadhana, what Rimichie recommends is we should focus when we do our sadhana, and that's for us. For us, Rimichie does not recommend us, but Rimichie does say that if you watch a movie, when you finish your sadhana, or you will do a sadhana separately, you can do extra. That's what Rimichie does. Mostly when he's watching he finished his sadhana. Prior to watching that, it's when he does his mantra. He does a lot of mantras after his sadhana. That to me it seems like part of his sadhana, but actually it's extra mantras that he recites while watching the movie or the video. So that's what he would do. That's what he would do. I mean, yes, got some comments here. Yeah, Joyce, for documentaries, for paranormal, one of the things that Rinpoche finds really relaxing is Bigfoot documentaries, Bigfoot movies. There's some docu-movie kind of thing. Off the hand, I can't really remember. Something to do with Bobby Creek, something like that. There's this docu-movie, I don't know. And I find it fascinating, but not to a point of interest constantly watching it. Because Rinpoche watch it a lot, more. Rinpoche is really a diehard enthusiast of Bigfoot. Yeah, and from Andy, he's asking what's Rinpoche's favorite food and drink. Rinpoche has a lot of favorites. For drinks, depends. There's hot, there's cold, soft drinks actually, to be honest, which we try to minimize for Rimichie because of the sugar and because it's unhealthy, because of Rimichie's weight and so forth, And so what we did was we found replacements, or we found natural ones. There are some soft drinks that are produced with less chemicals. That's what we did. And also with regards to hot drinks, Rinpoche drinks a lot of tea. Rimichie's in recent years, Rimichie drank a lot of butter tea, which is a lot of butter, but of course we skim it a little bit. And sometimes coffee, white coffee. With regards to tea, Rimichie likes it all sorts, from peppermint to as far as I remember. Because Rimichie's, and then for food, it's usually there's many cuisines. We're talking of Japanese, Korean, Chinese, Western, Tibetan food. So, jumped. The Tibetan food is Indian food. Among all the foods that Rinpoche Rinpoche liked quite a lot, broad range, from Chinese to Western but you see that's the one that Rinpoche always go back to, and when Rinpoche has when we are presenting a menu to Rinpoche, and Rinpoche doesn't seem to be in mood for anything, usually Indian works for Rinpoche. Yeah. So among all of them, it's Indian food. It's the curries. It's the for breakfast. It's always what's that really? Idli and vada, and puri. Idli, vada, puri breakfast. It's a standard breakfast in India, and over here, some of the Indian places you can find that. Yeah, and Tibetan food also occasionally. Same with Chinese. Same with occasionally Rinpoche would like Chinese food, hot pot. Actually, it's not. They call it the Mongolian hot pot, but the one we used to go to. There's one restaurant that, but actually, I think it's Chinese. I don't know. But anyway, in general, Western food, occasionally pastas, lasagna. Rinpoche loves lasagna for Western food lah. Lasagna that is vegetarian. A good vegetarian lasagna Rinpoche likes. Pizza. Rinpoche really likes pizza too, but not as much as Indian food though. On a regular basis, Rinpoche, I do notice that Rinpoche's preference for Indian food exceeds everything else, even Tibetan. So anytime, because Rinpoche did spend some time in India, and Rinpoche, what's funny is Rinpoche, for him, food is about memory too. Just like any of us, when we like our favorite food is because maybe it's from our childhood. For Rinpoche, it's not so much as childhood, because childhood that Rinpoche spent in Taiwan and the United States. So for Rinpoche, it was more of his time in the monastery, I think, because that's where he was exposed to Indian food. Because prior to that, he had never eaten Indian food. So when he got to India, it was a culture shock for him initially, because for breakfast, everybody ate idli, vada, puri, and then when you look at it, it's like he doesn't know what to make of it. And as you just imagine, like when you're raised in the West and it's all Western food, yeah. So yeah. Anyway, that's foods lah. Okay, this is besides the point. So Rinpoche on a personal basis, to unwind, he'll watch videos. Rinpoche doesn't really like to go out a lot. To be honest, Rinpoche doesn't like to go out. As far as I remember, of course, when I first met Rinpoche 20 years ago, now it's 20 years ago, initially Rinpoche was different that time. He didn't have a center that time. When I first met Rinpoche, within the first year, Rinpoche hadn't started Kechara yet. And at that time, Rinpoche was doing a little bit of modeling. He's starting to go into modeling based on his intuition. He felt that it would be good to reach out to a certain new group of people, I'm included. So he went to the gym a lot. So he spent a lot of time in the gym. And also, in the gym, and occasionally meeting some of his students and friends and giving little talks here and there. Small ones. Things like that. Then eventually Kechara House was formed. That was different. All right. Okay, let me see your other questions. How about Rinpoche's dogs? I feel they keep looking for him. Oh yeah, of course. Rinpoche loves his dogs. It's very funny, when I go to the big view of the video, I can't see your comments. It's only when I go out of it. Hold on, because there's a lot of comments I missed. I can see there's 34, but I only see a few. It's very strange. But anyway, I see your question, Joyce, and Rinpoche's dogs. Rinpoche had with us when, his first dog was Mumu. Mumu passed away. His name is Yogi, but Rinpoche calls him Mumu, like a cute, just a name, a cute name that Rinpoche uses a lot. So Rinpoche calls him Mumu, and then Rinpoche personally took care of him for many, many years. What Rinpoche did was, with his dogs, was Rinpoche bought books on schnauzers. And Rimichie did a bit of research, got his students to help him to find what type of dogs, the breed, and the characteristics. And then he did the comparison before he finally settled on Schnauzer. And his first dog was Mumu. And there was some kind of instant connection between Rimichie and Mumu upon seeing him at the breeders. And so Rimichie brought him back. And they had a really, I don't know how many years, 10, I think Mumu passed away when he was 13, so about around 11, 12 years. And when during that time, Rinpoche studied a lot, and he got a lot of his students to learn up, and especially those who eventually followed Rinpoche and got schnauzers as well as pets. And he made sure that all of his students who had a schnauzer study the characteristics and how to train them, how to take care of them, how to nurse them, the proper medication. There's a heartworm and there's a deworming pill that they have to take on a regular basis. The diet, and what kind of exercise they have and all that. So Rinpoche took really, really good care. And Rinpoche regularly, one of the things that Rinpoche liked to do was on shopping trips, Rinpoche occasionally liked to go shopping. I say occasional because it's far in between. And what Rinpoche did was, it's not like us, we need to go on every weekend when we are bored on the weekends. Now it's not possible because a lot of us are under lockdown. But anyway, in the past it was. So Rinpoche occasionally like to go shopping. One of the things that Rinpoche liked to shop for is toys. And he would get toys that are specifically to help Mumu, the dogs. Eventually Rinpoche got a few others. Dharma and Ose, they're all schnauzers, and toys that help with their teeth, and that are hypoallergenic or something like that. And so Rinpoche did a lot, and then eventually, in the final years, Rinpoche got them to do swimming. Bought a little baby pool, the inflatable ones. They're quite cheap, and then also those playground thingies with the balls and all to make a maze in his ladrang so that they can play. And Rinpoche always buys snacks all the time. Rinpoche bought a lot of healthy snacks that are suitable for dogs and healthy for them. And he would make play with them. And Rinpoche would get me to play with them also. What Rinpoche wanted me to do, play. How we played with the dogs is we threw the snacks. And at a certain, or hide it. It's a hide and seek game with them. So we hide the snacks so they will sniff it out. So they get really excited. They run all over the place, and that's what Rinpoche likes to do. He enjoys, and that time is also, and when Rinpoche is around, it's a time for Rinpoche to unwind because he enjoys them, see them running all over the place, really excited, really cute, barking away. Yeah. So Rinpoche's idea about pets is for his students, is for us to learn, especially for the younger ones, because that time I was relatively young. Many years back. So pets is a way, is an extension of our compassion for other beings besides ourselves, besides another human being, because pets are different from, let's say, a friend or a family member or a loved one, because Rinpoche says pets are unable to voice out. They're able to share. They're able to express through being close, but they're not able to articulate their feelings or their appreciation. So it's very different. So whatever they can show us, it's very watered down. And so it's more of we caring for them. So it's to train us. Having a pet is a method that Rinpoche advocates for some of his students to come out of our shell of self-absorption, especially the younger ones who is not used to taking care of someone else. So a pet is a perfect one. And Rinpoche didn't advise everyone to get a dog, but I remember there was a time Rinpoche, what he did was he went shopping around for fishes, and he got all of us a fish. It wasn't a goldfish because goldfishes are not easy to take care. It was a I don't know what you call it, a catfish, the fighter, the one that is really hardy. But when you cannot put two together, they are solitary ones. If you put two together, and they will fight. So they have to be kept in an empty tank by themselves, and they thrive on water that is, you don't have to put all those aeration, oxygen and all that. Yeah, so it was Rinpoche's way of getting us to take care. I remember I got my fish, and there was a bunch of us, students who was working for Rinpoche at that time, the younger ones. So we all got fishes and aquariums and the whole thing, and Rinpoche, and Rinpoche's idea of fishes is not just stick them in a little aquarium and water and sand and that's it. Rinpoche wants us to sculpt the place, make it hospitable, and he makes sure that the aquarium is big enough and not too small. Because how Rinpoche thinks of it is, we should be empathetic. We should feel what it's like to be in their world. Imagine yourself in a little aquarium, stuck 24 hours a day. You go back forth one way. I think now we kind of get the idea when we are stuck at home in the pandemic. But so Rinpoche says, imagine if you are stuck in an empty aquarium with nothing to excite you or entertain you or whatever. So it's kind of cruel, Rinpoche says. So what he does is, for fishes, what makes them makes their lives interesting is there's like a place to hide, there's some plants, more natural, some sand. So we have to make the aquarium hospitable for the fish too. So it's not just for us to look at them, it's also a place for them to live. That's how Rinpoche. Oh, it's a better fish. Yeah, correct. I think you got it, Joyce. That's the fish. I'm sorry, I forgot. It's been a while. Hello, Melky. We're talking about behind the scenes of Rinpoche right now, Melky. Just to let you know, I think. And Kanun, thank you for joining us. Yeah. So that's what Rinpoche used to do lah. And then Rinpoche, okay, back to the original topic here, behind the scenes of Rinpoche. So Rinpoche hardly go out. He feels that two things. He feels that as a Lama, as a Rinpoche, actually, it's not he feels, it's something that was taught to him, that as a Lama, as a Rinpoche, you're not supposed to go out a lot. You're not supposed to be seen too much on a social level, like, hello, to meet a lot of people all the time. You're supposed to stay and study, meditate, and give teachings when it's necessary. And so what happened is Rinpoche did just that. So he didn't go out much. That's one point, one aspect of it, sorry. The other aspect of it is Rinpoche himself don't really like to meet a lot of people. He's a private person. And but the nature of his responsibility is to handle people. So inadvertently he has to. So that's the thing. So when it comes to outings and all, it's rare and far in between. And there are sometimes we go out for, like, especially towards the later part of Rinpoche's life, the last 4 or 5 years of his life, he didn't go out as much. Perhaps once a month or once in 3 weeks. Imagine doing that. And yeah, sometimes in a couple of months he didn't go out at all. There are times where, when as students, what we do is we assist Rinpoche. Sometimes he understands that we need to go out and have fun too, so Rinpoche sends us out. Occasionally he will join us, But most of the time he wouldn't. He sent us to the movies. He sent us for to the to have fun in the amusement park, things like that. For us in Malaysia, there's Genting, so there's an amusement park there. There's one time I went with Rimichie. Unfortunately, it was really, maybe I don't know. Maybe that time Rimichie was feeling. Perhaps he knew his time was short, but he didn't express it. He didn't show it at all. It's one of those rare times Rimichie took us to Genting and we ate, had a meal, and went to the amusement park. And Rimichie joined us. That was unusual, I thought. And yeah, that was unusual. That was unusual because usually Rimichie sent us, and then he'll wait in the car, or he'll wait in a coffee shop or something like that, in a restaurant, and while we have our fun, and then when it's time we can go we go back together. But that time Rimichie joined us, and he tried to get us to play with him, and we yeah, it was unusual. I remember winning something too, from the amusement park. Anyway, yeah, and on shopping trips, Rimichie loved to actually, when he goes out, there are many times, for many of us, maybe not all of us, I do many times, I go out without a mission. I just go out sometimes just to a walk in the mall, and to window shop, to eat, and Rimichie don't like that. When he goes out, he has a mission in mind. What I mean is, he has something to buy, or he has someone to meet, as in a lunch, a meal, dinner with someone, with a student, with a friend, or to shop for something, to get something, to go someplace, to check out something, to things like that, to explore a part of the city that. There are times when Rimichie would like to explore the city for things, perhaps a place. And usually when Rimichie explores, he has his students in mind, because like the amusement park, like the aquarium, in town, in KL, we have, KL is the capital of Malaysia, of course. There is an aquarium, a public one, where you see all sorts of exotic fishes. For example, someone told Rimichie about it, and then so he went. So we explored it, and then after that he sent his Nepali boys, because we have some students of Rimichie that's working for Rimichie, and also to send them on trips to these places. Yeah, things like that. So sometimes it's not really the people who work for the organization. Sometimes it's the students, their children. Yeah, Rimichie has thinking is very broad range, and it's always a bit of a production, a big production, a lot of work, because when we go out, it's not just about Rimichie. It's about, after that, it will be planning for other people to enjoy or to see a show. Oh yeah, movies. Movies is one of the most common things that are organized by Rimichie, and then eventually by us, for students. Movie nights every few months, half a year, as a reward, as a way to bond, as a way to, it's not just Dharma and work and all the time. So Rimichie understand that, and so he always makes sure that we get some time off. Yeah, so that's what Rimichie does, and for his students, and he enjoyed doing that. Yeah, initially. Then after that, when when organization and students become a lot, so it became too much for just Rimichie alone to handle, because Rimichie had a lot of other responsibilities. Rimichie doesn't work on it. Rimichie is like a human computer. He plans for many things simultaneously. So he's thinking about their when people work for the organization, he doesn't look at them as employees. Sorry, he look at them as what they need, what will encourage them. Their spirituality. Sometimes he will send some of them to make for pilgrimage. He will send them to some people who started working for the organization to do retreats. Sometimes he will plan that, oh, when it's Chinese New Year, we go for shopping for new clothes because that's the culture for Chinese. He will plan for dinners, a lot of things. Rinpoche plans a lot of things, and that's just one level of planning. Another level of planning that Rinpoche does behind the scenes is handling of the organization of work, of projects. That's another level. Then of expansion of something, a new idea dawn on Rinpoche and becomes a department. For example, Kechara Forest Retreat. For example, a kitchen, a restaurant, a cafe in Kechara Forest Retreat. Many things. Even from our IT, many of the things that, like the blog and all that. So Rinpoche has a lot of planning in his mind that he does all the time. And when Rinpoche is unwinding, he's thinking. That's what Rinpoche does. Feng Hui, thank you. You asked what were the movies you remember watching Rinpoche. I'll tell you what's the last movie I watched Rinpoche. Okay, that was Star Trek. Rinpoche loves sci-fi, along with horror movies. The last movie I watched with Rinpoche, it was really unusual because Rinpoche had an audience, one last audience with a visitor from Nepal, and it was late, and Rinpoche did his sadhana, and he finished it, and then he was watching something, so he asked me to come and sit next to him, and he told me to watch. And that was the last movie we watched. It was Star Trek. It was an old Star Trek movie, It was roughly about a mission of going to a part of the universe where it's believed that God reside. I mean, in the general plot of that movie. I can't remember what's it called, but I remember that movie very clearly as the last movie I watched with Rinpoche. But in the past, I watched most movies I watched, almost all the movies I watched was with Rinpoche, mostly horror movies, some action movies, sometimes all sorts, from the classics, the black and whites, Joan Crawford movies to Western Joan Crawford, Bette Davis. Those were Rinpoche's favorite actresses from that period. To Lin Dai for Chinese, classic actress as well. To Bruce Lee, yeah, to Bruce Lee. To there's this T Long, I can't remember. There's a few that Rinpoche likes, and we watch sometimes. I watch so many movies with Rinpoche. It's incredible, and the horror one. From what's that movie? Insidious. I remember watching Rinpoche. That was our favorite of Rinpoche's and mine. Jeepers Creepers. A lot from Hellraiser, to I remember watching Hellraiser, and to some lesser known ones. I cannot remember the title of the movie, but they were really good cult favorites, I guess. Even to really camp ones like Rocky Horror Picture Show. There was a time when Rinpoche was trying to get us to understand that movie because it was really strange. It was really camp. Yeah, so it's all sorts of movies that we watched, but the last one was Star Trek. It was Star Trek, I remember, and I thought I'm telling you it's unusual. Why? Because I didn't explain why it was unusual. Because I felt there was some difference in the way Rinpoche was watching the movie. Usually, when Rinpoche watches movies like that on a personal basis, not with students, he would not fully be paying attention to the movie. He will not be. He will be on the phone, and he would watch it, and then he'll be sending messages, instructions, reminders while watching the movie, and only partially paying attention. but he will catch what's going on in the movie, which is amazing, but that's besides the point. But this time, the final movie I watched with Rimichie was watching full attention. It was a movie that Rimichie watched, I don't know, countless times, because it was Rimichie's favorite. I watched it a few times with Rimichie, but there are times when we watch movies with Rimichie would sometimes get students to come together and we watch clips of the movie, because there's some interesting plot line that Rimichie wishes to express, and it's in the movie, and then he will skip to that section of the movie and Rimichie will give a commentary of why he finds it interesting, or how the meaning behind the plot and what it meant, and Rimichie likes to do that. So what happened was, for that time, for the last movie I watched with Rimichie, Rimichie just sat there and he was paying full attention to a movie Rimichie watched, I could say maybe 50 times easily. And I thought it was strange, because I looked at Rimichie and Rimichie just looked, there was something nostalgic about the way Rimichie was watching the movie, the feeling I got. Because I'm a bit sensitive in that sense of people, especially with Rimichie. I mean, something that Rimichie kind of honed in me, because he always likes to get me to observe people, how people feel. So, and I was observing Rimichie. I mean, without staring at Rimichie, but I noticed that Rimichie was watching the movie with a lot of nostalgia. So, in hindsight, right now, when I look back at that time, I think Rimichie knew his time was short, and it had, not in hindsight, because I knew Rimichie's time wasn't that much long, so it leads me to think that Rimichie knew his time was short, and it was kind of like perhaps one of his last movies. I don't know if Rimichie watched any after that. I don't recall, because I was Rimichie the last few months. I was Rimichie most of the time, except in the hospital. It was different. So Rimichie was watching the movie, and he was just like he knew, And so just imagine if you're going to die, and you're just enjoying your last final movie. Just imagine that. That's the feeling I got. And I didn't know what it was. I just sensed something was different. So that's what I felt it was. Sorry for my typos, watching on my phone and my fingers are it's alright, Joyce. The things keep jumping, the comments keep coming in, but I can't see it. I apologize if I don't catch your questions, because I cannot see your questions at all. Something's wrong with my Facebook. And I only see it from the main page, and the main page only shows part of it. I don't know why. Let me see, what can I do? If your questions, guys, if you are listening to me, if you don't see your questions being answered, please post it again, if you don't mind. In time, I'm not very familiar. I don't think so. Inception I watched, but not with Rimichie though. I think Rimichie watched it. Inception was good, isn't it? Yeah, but it wasn't something. Inception I did watch. Yeah, I did watch. It was good, but not with Rimichie. This question is from Luke. What was he like before passing? Was he in good spirits? Thank you for being so open. That's very sweet. What was he like when Rimichie was passing if you're talking of in the hospital? Rimichie was intubated, so he couldn't express much. Rimichie was initially a bit frustrated, to be honest, because he wanted to leave the hospital, but he couldn't. And then something changed in Rimichie, and there was some divinations being done, And Rimichie, the divinations were done by High Lamas, and they were reverted back to Rimichie and were told to Rimichie, and Rimichie was finally settled. So he remained in the hospital. And what happened was, in the hospital, Rimichie was, it was hard because Rimichie was trying to express, but he couldn't speak because he was intubated. There was a tube down his mouth. So, and Rimichie was very weak. So we got a iPad for Rimichie to communicate, but he was too weak to even write. So his last message to us was, "I love you." And that time was very emotional. And also, there was one day, it was a very drawn out, because it's about a month Rimichie was in the ICU, which is unusual. So my feeling was, he was waiting for someone. He was waiting for a student, and this student was in Nepal, and when he finally came back, he was a close student. He was Rinpoche's attendant, Pastor Sing Piao. And finally, when he did arrive in the hospital, Rinpoche's recovered a little bit, and they took out, and he was on the oxygen only. There's two levels. There's one intubation, which is into your mouth. The tube is just plastered into your mouth, Another one is just a mask, so you can express. So he gained a bit of strength, and he had a conversation, a private conversation with that student. And then after that, Rinpoche degenerated. When he was able to talk, one of the first things Rinpoche did was, he did something unusual. He spoke to the nurses, he expressed thank you, he thanked everyone who took care of him, and bought everyone food. He asked his students to do it, of course. He got his students to buy food for the nurses in the ward. And he noticed that it was suffering in the ICU because you couldn't tell day or night because the lights are always on. And so he requested his students to buy some clocks. So at least the people in the ICU get some kind of relief and feeling of time, and that's what, he did express that much. He just said, get clocks and get food for the nurses. So we did that. So then after that, Rimichie degenerated. His condition worsened, and so when he finally passed, he entered what is known as clear light. All right, he entered what is known as clear light, which means that there's no sign of life, meaning no heartbeat, no pulse, no breath, but he's warm here for about 2 days. And then what happened was that time we're not supposed to disturb him, so we just do prayers. And then finally, when his mind, that's believed to be the time when he's in meditation, in death meditation. It's called Tuktam, or clear light of death meditation. And then when he's finally left, a blood will emerge from his nostrils. And we were told by the High Lamas it's very small, so we have to be super alert. So what they recommend was, because that time Rimichie had passed, so he was dressed in his maroon robe. So it would be difficult if it dripped onto his robes. We couldn't tell it's maroon. So we got a white sheet to be placed on Rinpoche's chest, so that when he came, it was very easy to observe. Yeah, that was how Rinpoche passed. So his last instruction to us was, his last message to us was, "I love you," because he couldn't. It was just it was very scribbly. "I love" and "you." And it was passed to everybody who was taking care. We took turns, we took shifts to take care of Rinpoche in case he needed help. And that was his last message. And his last instruction was to buy a meal for the nurses. And he thanked all the nurses. And he thanked all the nurses. And the doctor, of course. Yeah. Oh gosh, you got me really emotional. Luckily I can control myself. Sometimes I can't, now I can. So, you don't want me crying and sobbing on the camera. That'd be so weird. So anyway, besides that, let's rewind back in time. Rimichie, with regards to people, to his students, behind the scenes, what Rimichie likes to do is he likes to shop for all the time. We're all constantly shopping, buying things. When Rimichie has a bit of funds, he likes to spend it on his students. And when it comes to spending on himself, Rimichie is very difficult. I would say a lot of discussion. I remember there was a time when Rimichie wanted to get a TV for himself. We had a lot of discussion because Rimichie wasn't sure. Actually, in the end of the day, it wasn't apparent at the time, but later on, Rimichie explained that he finds it very difficult to spend on himself. He finds it difficult, and especially if it's a bit of money, like to buy a TV is a bit of money, because the money comes from sponsors, from students, from people who believe. So when it comes to spending on himself, he finds it very difficult. When it comes to spending for his students, Rinpoche is very generous, and Rinpoche is very, how do I say, very, very he's very controlling. No, that's not a right word. He makes sure that the funds that comes in, for whatever reason, the sponsor are aware of where it comes. I mean, aware of what it's for, and it will only be used for what it's for. This is something that is a rule that Rimichie adheres to from the beginning, because he doesn't want people to lose faith in the Dharma. So whatever it's meant for, it will be used for that purpose. If it's not, it will be returned to the sponsor. That's Rinpoche's main rule. So, but when it comes to his personal funds, he likes to spend it on his students. Toys, gifts, computers, handphones, to encourage them to encourage them in the Dharma work, to encourage them on a personal basis, to help them. Sometimes he pays a lot of the students' bills, rent, because a lot of us, we're working for an organization, not with a lot of money as our stipend. We do have sponsorship for stipends, and so a lot of us are working below our normal pay if you're working the same job elsewhere. But the difference is we're working for the Dharma. So that's a big difference, especially for us who believe in the Dharma, Yeah, that's how Rimichie is on a personal basis. It's just for he enjoys shopping for people. That's why he always tells me, and he always does. And when it comes to going out, and that's the only thing when we don't really. So when it comes to a time when Rimichie wants to go out, so we have to plan. We will have a little discussion. Where should we go? What should we do when we go out? And what's the plan? If there's no plan, no purpose, no reason, for us, sometimes we just want to go out. We don't really have a plan. It's just to be distracted. It's just to, for some retail therapy. Rinpoche don't like that. Retail therapy as in spend for oneself, or just to feel good. No, Rinpoche don't like that. Rinpoche likes to go out with a plan, if that, and then So we have a lot of suggestions to Rinpoche. What should Rinpoche do? And then Rinpoche sometimes will follow, sometimes will not. Joy says, I feel like he had a gift basket at first, and then turned into a gift closet, and then finally into a gift room. Oh yeah. When it comes to gifts, yes. The gift room is mostly his own purchases. Many of it, not most, many of it is a section of it is his purchases that are placed there to give out to students, to give out to people, to potential people to spur them in their Dharma practice, but not necessarily religious, not necessarily Buddha statues and all, although a majority of them are Buddha statues and books and stuff. But there are some that are gifts, that are toys for kids, and also non-Dharma things, like clothes and stuff like that. No, clothes not much. Knickknacks, and also a lot of them are offerings from people. yeah, people over the years, Rimichie, like his students, when they travel, they always buy something and they offer to Rimichie. And even for myself, I've offered a lot of things to Rimichie, and those things are stored there. And only a few things Rimichie will use on his personal basis. And the funny thing about Rimichie, when it comes to his personal possessions, he doesn't like to have a lot of things. Although he has a lot of things, but he doesn't like to have it like in his room or in his space. And so he will go about periods where he accumulates things and then he'll give it away. And especially things that are like watches, a bit of jewelry, pendants. Sometimes Rimchie wear a pendant for a while and then he'll give it away to a student, a sponsor, or someone. Things like that. So Rimchie will keep that. But what we believe is Rimchie is energizing those items in his personal space for the person Rimchie had intended to give it to. It is not so much that Rimchie enjoyed the watches and all that. Rimchie doesn't like to wear anything much. Jewelry he doesn't like, but he occasionally will wear rings for a period and then give it away. Occasionally he'll wear a pendant, I've seen, a watch. And if it's a special student, I remember Rimichie wore a watch that was given by a student once for a period of time. And it was because of the student. And I believe that it was for the student to collect merit. We believe that when you offer items to the Lama, of course, by the way, all gifts, all offerings that goes to Rimchie will not see it immediately. Unless it's food lah. If it's food, then Rimchie will make a prayer, or Rimchie will, when he will consume, he will do a prayer, and then, food you can't keep for too long, right? But for non-food items, non-perishable items, flowers will be offered to one of the things that Rimchie gets a lot is flowers. So when Rimchie gets a lot is flowers. Rimchie gets a lot of food items. Rimchie gets a lot of incense. Yeah, Rimchie gets a lot of incense, a lot. These are the three most common things that people offer to Rimchie. And then, what Rimchie does is with the flowers, of course, is offered on the altar. With the food, it depends. If it's food that can last for a little bit, like fruits, it will be offered on the altar. Otherwise, Rimchie would consume them with a prayer offered first. And everything else, non-perishables, are offered it's a rule of thumb in the Ladrang that all offerings are placed and offered to the Buddhas first. We light a stick of incense and we purify it. This is our belief that when we offer things to the Buddha, we want to offer the purest, the cleanest. So we purify the items with incense, and then it's offered there to the Buddha. Sometimes it depends. It can be there for a few days to a week. Rimchie will not look and see, no matter how precious, how expensive, or how simple it is, Rimchie just leave it there. And when Rimchie feels like it, sometimes he'll go and have a look. Otherwise, some things are just placed in the gift room. So what happens is, that's a rule of thumb. So Rimchie believes that whatever is offered to him is with the belief that it's offering to the guru. So it's for the people, the recipient, to collect merit. All right. Okay, let me see. I've got some health supplements from Rimchie. I was a volunteer at KSK, so he passed the supplements to me through Justin Shah. This is by Esther Go. Oh yeah, Rimchie, there's one of the things when Rimchie went for shopping, it was massive purchases, okay? So we wiped out the entire shelf of supplements, and Rimchie would ask and also have a number of people in mind. And he will give out to a lot of students. And supplements, handbags, sometimes handbags, all sorts of things. So you are one of the recipients. And then, so Louis says, I love to buy cake offering to Rimchie. I always buy different flavor, then Rimchie can share with the lucky ones. Yeah, that's me. So Sharon says Rimchie called the KFR kids to come in and choose. That's nice. Oh, you mean the toys, right? Yeah. And then this is Luke Whalen says, I struggle with retail therapy at Roger Secrets. Lol. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, that's one of the things that Rimchie did. Rinpoche established a retail outlet initially many years ago. When I first knew Rinpoche, Rinpoche already had an outlet called Kechara Paradise. It was with the intent to provide Dharma items, offerings of our tradition, statues with the correct iconography. Because in the earlier days in Malaysia, even in Malaysia, it was quite rare. Because in Malaysia, for within the Buddhist scene, Tibetan Buddhism wasn't very big that time in the early days. So for Dharma items, offering supplies, it was difficult to find, especially good ones. So it was established with that in mind. So now that that was many years ago. So it has progressed since to be just retail. Now it's gone online. So it provides people all over the world, and in a way, we have a wonderful team that was established by Kechara, by Rimichie, that handles the shipping and all that, and more importantly, the customer service to you guys, like you, Luke. I believe that a lot of the inquiries are actually Dharma related. So it's good that we have a student like Wai-Ming. He does a wonderful job and some other people in answering questions, in giving advice, Dharma advice. Okay, so that's very nice. Buying from there, good. Yeah, that's what Rimichie used to tell us. Rimichie used to encourage us to support our organization through the retail outlet, and and not to go elsewhere. I mean, that's one way you support the organization that you that you are affiliated with, especially through the Lama. So that's through the retail arm. Yeah. JC Go, you say Rinpoche treats students very, very well and true love. Rinpoche treats everyone more or less equally, in a sense when Rinpoche goes out, and except if you're rude, except if Rinpoche is a very direct person. Rinpoche is also very interactive, so he talks to people. And there's one thing that kind of it's funny in a way and kind of like scary for some, because Rinpoche is very American in that sense. So he's very direct and American in that sense that he speaks in English, so it can be intimidating to some students who are not so good in English. So because in Malaysia we have all sorts of people, and our level of English is very good, but it's not everyone speaks perfect English. So Rinpoche likes to ask questions and get feedback. And some of the times that Rinpoche does that is to gauge people. That's what Rinpoche's explained before, is to gauge people, to understand them, to understand what they need, to understand their life sometimes. And sometimes Rinpoche get premonitions, a feeling. Rinpoche calls it a feeling. It's a premonition, maybe of the future, maybe of something is going to happen to this person, or maybe it's a Dharma advice on what practice or what pujas this person needs to do for their practice, for their Dharma practice, for their Dharma learning and practice. Sometimes it's what's going to happen maybe in family. So Rinpoche will give a Dharma talk and he'll weave it into the Dharma talk sometimes. Yeah, that's what Rinpoche used to do. And a lot of the later years, because what Rinpoche was trying to establish in Kechara was this. You have to understand how Rinpoche was, because there are some people say, why Rinpoche didn't teach so much towards the later part of his life. So what happened was the last 4 or 5 years, Rinpoche hardly gave public teachings to the public, massive teachings. What he was trying to do was trying to nurture the pastors, like, sorry to say, like myself, to talk more, to teach more, to explain more, rather than he himself doing it. And I think Rimichie knew he had a sort of an understanding of his timing, So he was trying to encourage that, and he was trying to also unwind and step back, because so the students and the organization take over, get used to it. And but what Rimichie did was he will never stop trying to help. So it's something that's natural, Rimichie, and that's something that, wherever he does lah. So he always observed. What he liked to do is, he had the entire organization install with CCTV, and his idea is to see who's around. Yeah, Rimichie is always watching the CCTV to see who's around. He's not interested to see what they're doing. To see what's happening. And what Rimichie liked to do is, when he sees someone, if he sees a lot of students doing some project, because we have all sorts of projects initiated by Rimichie, of course, and volunteers come, and so he will send food. One of the things that Rimichie like to do is send a lot of food, especially if it's late at night, because some things, there's some projects that are pressing, so that people have to work. So he will send food, and occasionally give supplements, sometimes advice. Sometimes he'll call them, and they will meet. If he has premonition that he needs to talk, because it's a new Dharma student, a new Dharma volunteer. Sometimes he'll play games. Well, Rimichie had a game called the earring game, and which Rimichie used to like to play with his students, that the volunteers that come often to Kechara. That time it was more Kechara Forest Retreat already. The early years was in Kechara as well, and it wasn't many times Rimichie played with students. To be honest, I think maybe around 5, the most 6 maybe. And so there are times where it's organized, like the whole, working community of Kechara, playing the earring game. It was very fun. And if you don't know what the earring game is a earring. It's a small little object. Usually the earring sometimes can be a ring or something small. And what Rimichie would do is he'll call everybody, those playing, to go into the next room, close the door, and he will hide it. Yes, Rimichie will hide it. It's just a small object. He will hide it. And then when it's time, he will let everybody in to look for it. And Rimichie will sit there and observe everybody. So when Rimichie is observing everybody, he will get a feeling about everybody and their pattern, the habitual pattern. Yeah, it's Rimichie's computer mind at work here. And so what happened is he observed their behavioral patterns, and the next time it gets tougher and tougher and tougher. Sometimes it's so difficult we don't find it at all. Many times we don't find it. Sometimes, and usually there'll be a certain individual that always finds it. There's a certain few people, and Rimichie would explain why they find it and why others don't. Why they find it, sometimes it's because they are methodical, so they will check consistently everywhere they go. Eventually they find it. Most of the time is that a person who is usually methodical, or a person who's very meticulous. So when they search, they will make sure they will look every aspect, underneath, on top, below. Will flip through every page in a book to look for something small or whatever. So the game turns out to be a lot of fun. It's really fun, because Rimichie doesn't play the game just for itself. There are prizes. There are very exciting prizes, statues, gifts. Rimichie's the hoard that Rimichie has in his gift room. So yeah, Rimichie is very generous. So when it comes to the games Rimichie play, it with prizes. Okay, yeah. So that there are. Yeah, so so Rimichie, and doing the earring game, Rimichie explained quite a lot of Dharma throughout the way he observed how we look for the earrings. So we got a very deep insight into a lot of our own behavioral patterns. All right, that's one. One of the games Rimichie used to play was earring game. Rimichie also used to play. There was another thing. I slipped my mind suddenly. It was another game. Shit, I would just remember it and then you slip. But never mind. Rimichie, yeah, we had a lot of fun with Rimichie. Rimichie made Dharma fun. At the same time, he made it work. At the same time, he made it, a teaching. There's a lot of things. It's never just one way. So behind the scenes, Rimichie did a lot of these kind of things. Besides sitting on a throne and teaching. And a lot of times at Rimichie, a lot of people say, oh, it's so hard to find to have audience with Rimichie. Not really Rimichie don't like to go and meet people. It's just Rimichie's nature. That's one of the aspects. Rimichie don't like to meet a lot of people. But at the same time, Rimichie is aware. So Rimichie is always in constant communication with his PA, with his his attendants, his students, his what do we call it? Changzo, we call it in Tibetan. His yeah, so there's a lot of things that Rinpoche used to do. There's a lot of memories. It's nice that I'm talking about it, not just for you guys because you enjoyed it. It's also nice for me because it's fun times to look back at, you know. The pick game. The pick game is more of an individual basis though. Thank you, Chung. You got it. The pick game. The pick game, it's a bit raunchy. The way Rimichie played it. It was very funny. And Rimichie is no holds barred, okay? Rimichie will play with everyone. From us, his normal students, his lay students. We are not monks, we're not nuns. To the monks, of course, with the monks, Rinpoche is much more respectful, but he'll make them play as well. To the Rinpoches, he will play some of the Rinpoches that Rinpoche was close to, like his cousin, Telo Rinpoche. Rinpoche would play that game with them. And the pick game is very interesting because it's a pick and choose game. All sorts of scenarios, you know, but the you have to answer it. You can't say no. And it's usually something that is something you don't like and something you can't stand, you know. Either way you die, either way you cringe, so you have to pick. And Rinpoche, and it's very funny because Rinpoche would through our answering of the, you know, through his own observation, through answering the question, the pick game, Rinpoche would know how to formulate what's next. That gets increasingly tough, and it's funny because it lays bare what we like, what we don't like. Sometimes it's a certain individual. Sometimes it's a certain activity. You know, so it opens a person's character up. It also it opens a character. I mean, it also relaxes some people because some people are very uptight, you know, with Rimichie around. So Rimichie plays the game to loosen them out, loosen them as in make them relax. And it's always definitely funny. You cannot imagine how creative Rimichie is, you know. It's incredible. But it's also very insightful for Rinpoche mainly in the sense that Rinpoche when he formulates the questions about what to choose, right? It could be, you know, between your brother or your mother, you know, if you were to spend the rest of your life with the only person, maybe you don't like these two people, for example, things like that, you know. If you haven't experienced, you won't fully appreciate it. If you experience it, you will totally understand what I'm talking about. It's both entertaining, at the same time for Rinpoche. And Rinpoche sometimes have a reason for playing the game, and he will explain sometimes as a way to explain a certain like our attachments, like our person's a certain character type, you know. Okay, earrings made this week have a Buddha face. I have no idea what you're saying, but Joyce, but that's interesting. No, the earrings that Rimichie played was just an ordinary earring. It was just more of why we, you know, the things that we do, the observation and the teaching that goes along that was wonderful. And then Feng Hui says, you think His Eminence Rinpoche will be back in this lifetime? Is there a time frame estimate period for his return? No, there's no estimate for his return, but usually I've noticed most tulkus, they do not take rebirth for a couple of years. There's usually a gap of a few years, and then they take rebirth. And then during this time, it's very important to do the pujas, the long life puja, not long life puja, sorry, the swift return puja. It's not so much as to create the merits for Rinpoche to return. He who has the merits, he has the control. Rinpoche has the control. It's actually for us to find his incarnation, the correct one. Okay, because Rimichie will have many emanations. Rimichie's level of incarnation will have many. That means he's quite attained. His incarnation line, he will have many. So we'll be looking for his mind emanation, the main incarnation, what is known as the mind emanation. And then when we find him, we'll enthrone him. Okay, it's a long process. So I don't know, maybe 5 years, 5 to 10 year period, I think. I do think he will. I feel like his dogs will help point the direction. I don't think his dogs will do. I don't know how that's going to happen, but yeah. How the process of looking for incarnation. Okay, one of the things that usually the process that we do is we have to do pujas. And the pujas we do is the swift return puja. One of the other thing is we have to complete his stupas. Usually when a Lama passes away, his relics will be enshrined in the stupa. And usually it's not just one. Usually the minimum usually is 2. One indoor, one outdoor. Usually that's the case for a high Lama. Okay, the outdoor one is for, usually in the monastery, they will do it in the courtyard of the monastery. They'll build one stupa there. So the monks will circumambulate and collect merit. And in the Ladrang will be the indoor one on the main altar. So in Kechara we have completed the indoor one. That's in Rimichie's Ladrang, which is his home from his previous life. This life, that is. And then the outdoor one, we are in the midst of construction, but we have a lot of delays because of the pandemic. And okay, the process is like this. Once we've completed the pujas, we completed the stupas, what happens is, it's a bit mystical on this part. Usually we will look for signs and dreams from the students. And from the student will arise. It will not be from the oracle first. It will be from the student because of Samaya. So it will be from the student. A dream will arise. One of the students, I have no idea who, with the correct Samaya, will have the dream. And then the dream will have an indication of where Rimichie will take rebirth. And then only we consult the oracle, and it will be a long drawn out process. Usually out of the whole thing, we'll have a clue of a location. Perhaps, in this district. So we'll have to go and look. We have to travel to this place. If it's Tibet, it will be Tibet. We have no idea. It could be Tibet, it could be the West, it could be the East. So if it's Tibet, we hope it's not Tibet, because it'll be difficult, because to bring Rimichie, because Rimichie's have specific instructions for us to what to do with regards to once we find him, okay, that he was to be brought back here to be educated, secular and spiritually. All right, so that's what Rimichie wanted for his incarnation. And so there'll be a whole process where once we go to the location that's indicated by the dreams. So we have to look for the boys with of a certain age group, with between 1 to 5 usually, and then if they manifested any signs. What's a sign of an incarnation? They are extremely different. They are quiet. Their parents will say, when this child was born, they had some dreams, there were some miracles, whatever it is, or the child's behavior will be very different. They'll be very kind to animals. They will be, and they will sometimes they will say they want to go back home, although they're home, meaning they want to go back to the monastery or where they, of their previous life. They'll give indication. And usually when the search party go, if it's the previous life students, sometimes they will recognize the previous life student by name and will call out. So what Rinpoche said was many Tulkus will have memory of their previous life for a certain age, for up to 5, up to 7 to 8. Once after 10, most of its previous life's memory will start to fade. Because in every lifetime, the Rinpoche, the Lama, will have a particular mission in that life, a particular planning All right. So because of that planning, they will take on certain responsibility in their life. Sometimes different characters altogether, meaning sometimes some lifetime they're more outgoing, genial, very much in tune with people. Sometimes some lifetimes they would be more scholarly, more monkly, more hermit-like. Yeah, sometimes like that, depending on their planning or what they want to accomplish in that lifetime. All right. Also, yeah, it's exactly like Luke Whalen says, amazing. So the process is similar to how they find the Dalai Lamas. Yes, it's exactly the same, except that the Dalai Lama will be more, of course, being the Dalai Lama, there will be more pomp and ceremony. But for Rinpoche, once we find him, there'll be candidates lah. Okay, so with candidates, we need to do some examination, and whether they recognize objects belonging to the previous life, just like the Dalai Lama, versus objects that are similar. All right, so they would have to pick, and then finally the final answer would be determined by both the oracle of Dorje Shugden for us. All right, for us, the oracle of Dorje Shugden and the divinations by high lamas. For example, Chujang Rinpoche. For us, the highest lama for us in our tradition would be Chujang Rinpoche. In our lineage, we will be consulting him. All right. Yeah. So anyway, kind of talk of beyond this, and so my time has come to an end. I didn't manage to speak very much about what I had in mind, but I think you guys enjoyed and learned quite a bit. Yeah. Okay, there's this interesting comment by Feng Hui. Joyce, I watched the oracle visit to Kechara and noticed the samurai sword. Lol, who bought that? Okay, because usually when oracle, when they take trance, a complete outdoor trance, when there's enough space, they will do what is known as a Vajra dance. Okay, during that time, he will wield a sword, and he will do a dance with the sword, a bow and arrow as well, with the quiver and all that by his side and all that. All right, and he will do a dance. And the purpose of the dance is to consecrate the location, the place, to clear the obstacles, the energy of the place, and also unseen beings that are harmful, to remove them. All right, and to bless the people and who is witnessing it as well. So that's what the oracle was doing. All right, so that samurai sword was offered by one of our members because we needed a sword. Okay, that's all we had. In Malaysia, it's not easy to find weapons, so it was just that we had that. All right, so anything else? You're welcome, Esther. And the sword stood out, yeah. And you should look at this, especially when the minister Kachima Rinpoche later when he talks, because he's the one for this oracle. It's his minister, his main attendant, his main minister Kachima Rinpoche who speaks, and his eyes are closed, and then he'll reach out and grab things without looking, and when he talks, you just see how he talks. It's quite interesting. Oh, very nice. You're from the Philippines. I hope you join us again. Our next episode will be 2 weeks from now. All right. And anything else you guys would like to ask? My final one for the night. Oh, you have no idea, Luke. When you are live, you are there, and you are witnessing it. It's a totally. I was there. I was assisting. If you watch the video, this one, I was the one assisting the oracle directly. I was the one who gave. I think I was the one who gave the sword. No, that was someone else. We had 2 attendants helping the oracle that time. So the one who gave the sword was the other one. I was the one who had to change the hat, and and pass him his cloth and all that, because the other minister, he needed to wipe his face a lot because he needed a special cloth to do that, because it's that what we believe is that because in order to give pronouncements that will change our karma, our destiny, there'll be a lot of negative karma, obstacles, difficulties that would prevent him from giving accurate pronouncements. So when he's doing that act, he's actually purifying that karma in order to give accurate, pinpoint, accurate prophecy. All right? You're welcome, Melvin. You're welcome, Yvonne. And Bradley. Bradley asks, during the cremation, there was a sand mandala, the direction of the smoke. Is there any signs there? Yes, there is, but that's a bit confidential. I can't reveal at this time. What we believe, this is something that Rimichie held on to. What we believe is that because Rimichie, we haven't found Rimichie's incarnation yet, we can't reveal too much of the clues that we have, because at this time is a delicate period of time. You must understand, before something comes to fruition, for example, in the past, when Rimichie is planning to embark on a big project, a new department and all that, the plans will not be revealed to the public initially, because what Rimichie believes is that if you reveal prematurely, obstacles will come. Okay, so that will prevent it from coming to fruition. So in the case of Rimichie, we will definitely have a lot of obstacles. So we are already going through a lot of problems with the stupa with regards to the pandemic already. And so we don't want more obstacles. So with regards to clues, there are clues, I can definitely confirm, but it's premature to reveal. Okay, because because it's very delicate now. We are looking for Rimichie. We are waiting for signs. So I think we'll get more clearer signs when the stupa and the temple is completed. All right. Now, yeah, it is. It's very interesting, isn't it? It's very beautiful. Actually, it was very powerful. It's very electrifying. I'll call it electrifying because there's a very powerful presence. If you're sensitive, you'll feel it very powerful. And at that point, very kind, very powerful, very majestic. You're just compelled to look. And yeah. And it's a real trance. It's not an actor faking it. Of course he's not, but I'm just trying to tell from just observation and feeling. All right. Yeah, but I've got to go. It's getting late, and don't worry, I'll be back 2 weeks from now. Let me see what's next. Next would be I spoke about behind the scenes of Rimichie today, and next I would talk about growing old in the Dharma. All right, with Rimichie, of course. Okay, thank you very much. It was very nice to share all of this with you. It was nice for you. It was nice for me too. Okay, it's nice to revisit the memories, because sometimes, I forget. And when you revisit it, you remember, and I think it's nice. It's nice, it feels warm, and at the same time, it's good. It's good for my practice, I believe. It's good to remember the kindness of your Lama always. My last parting words with you guys for this episode is to always remember the kindness of your Lama. Even if you have never met Rinpoche, you have received his kindness because you were touched by his teachings. You were touched by the words that he put in the blog. You were touched by the Dharma that he talked about, in his teachings, and expressed in the organization, expressed through myself. I'm just a product of Rinpoche's teachings. He's nurturing in his teachings. So you are indebted to Rimichie that way, and that's why. And it's said that in the Lamrim that in order to develop faith, in order to tap into the blessings of the Buddhas, the most powerful way is through your Lama, and the best way is to remember his kindness. So when you talk about your Lama, when you listen about your Lama, when you talk about your Lama, it opens good karma, it opens merits for you. Always remember that. All right. Okay, thank you very much. I'll do dedication now. Janju Sencho Rinpoche, Make Panagyu She, Keva Yama Mi Payang, Gonen Go to Power Show, Tony Tonga Rinpoche, Make Panagyu She, Keva Yama Mi Payang, Gonen Go to Power Show, Daso Jene Sapaki Wadi, Tanandroa Gonlang Kampada, Jebo Joso Lawson Drapa, Tan Ping Porindo Sao She, Show, Kewa Gundo Yana Lamada, Dremi Joki Pala Long Chaching, Sada Langi on the Rachoni, Doji Changi Gopang Yoto Show, Kewa di Yoda, Lama Sangi Juku ni, Jua Chicken Maluba, De Sala Gopa Show, Chuju Jawo Songaba, Nama Bewala, Gege Jamajiwada, Tuni Malushan Show, Dadan Shaggy Dusundan, George Latene, Giawalo Sondrapa, Tamparin Bagu, Nemo Della Santale, Neme Coin Delection, Yasantatu Della Bell, Conjoso Jingulo, Conjoso Motoso, Conjoso Tashi Show, Jason Lama Kusor of the J, Namkachini Jugibata, Los Antami Jomi Sansuki, Drumus Tatu Negus, Gangri Rawi Koa Shingam, the Penandawa Malukon, Chen Rezek 1000 Gasoi, Sharpie City Badu Dangu, Hong, Tombing or Malupa. Den Dala Saduso, Konan Tempa Lochanam, Geba Zoji Shukten Cell. Thank you, everybody, and good night.